Well, good morning, everyone. All right. I hope everybody is ready for an absolutely amazing Thursday. I'm very excited because we have Nicole Masumi, one of our graduating seniors and a Weaver alumni, leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we will be continuing with chapters 23 and 24 for Song for a Whale with our wonderful Media Center tech, Mrs. Claudia Cordova. And for chapter 24, I got to be honest, she has a really special guest who's going to make this book come even more alive. So I hope everybody is ready for a great day. Go out there and be absolutely awesome. Take care, everybody.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Masumi, and I am a Los Alamitos graduating senior and a Weaver alumni. In the fall, I will be attending Yale University to study chemical engineering. A favorite memory of my time at Weaver is when I played the sloth in the great Kapok tree. And I'd just like to give a shout out to my teachers, Mrs. Holland, Mrs. Calder, and Mrs. French, and especially Mrs. Tiffany, who always believed that I would get into Yale. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remove all hats and hoods and place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated and thank you very much. Have a great day.
Guess who's back? It's Mrs. Claudia. Wait, I think I have something on my head. It's a whale. Could it be Blue 55? All right. Is everyone ready for chapter 23? Here we go. Grandma said not to worry about my money in the bank. Save it for something else. This is my treat. Instead of flying into the closest airport and trying to drive 3 hours, possibly through snow and ice, Grandma's plan was to get on a cruise ship that would take us right to Appleton. We found just one ship with an available cabin and an Appleton stop, and we'd have to leave earlier than planned. How will we do it? I asked. Like when it's time to leave, what will I tell Mom? Grandma sat back to think, then picked up her activities calendar from her coffee table. We can't tell her what we're doing exactly. Right, there's no way she'd let us go. Not while I still have school anyway, or ever. Grandma pointed to her calendar on the date we needed to leave. Look, there's a day trip to Surfside Beach. I'll tell your mom I'd like you to join me. It'd be good for us. Think she'll say yes? I couldn't believe we were actually planning this. It didn't seem real yet. More like a game, a really fun game. Grandma shrugged. I'll talk her into it. We'll be with a group of people, and she knows how much I love the ocean. We'll be telling the truth about going to the beach anyway. We won't mention yet that we're going to one a little farther away. A little? She looked back at the computer screen and clicked, book my cruise. Just 4,000 miles. No big deal. I smiled and I signed, serious trouble. We are both going to be in serious trouble. Worth it, Grandma signed. I couldn't leave without saying goodbye to Wendell. When I messaged to ask if he could come over, he wrote back, not unless you have a better telescope than I do. Come check out Jupiter. Mr. Jackson let me in the front door, and he pointed upstairs. Great view up there. From the upstairs game room, I stepped out onto the balcony and sat down next to Wendell. He didn't take his eye from the telescope until I touched his shoulder. I reached down and clicked on Wendell's flashlight. He'd painted the lens red so the light wouldn't wash out the night sky and make the stars harder to see. After the visit to the junior high, I'd wondered every day what Wendell was doing at his own school. Maybe he was learning the same things I was, but from a deaf teacher, or he was signing with a bunch of friends at lunch or joking with another student he passed in the hallway. If I were with them every day, I could be part of that. Even if we did sign a little differently, I'd sign more like the other kids after hanging around them more. I shook the wish out of my head and tried to refocus. Changing schools would be impossible now. Mom wouldn't let me out of her sight again after she found out I took off to Alaska with grandma. I still couldn't believe mom had said yes to the trip. I'd watched from upstairs when grandma came over to talk to mom about it. She kept a straight face the whole time and didn't give anything away. She really was a good actor. Before she left, she got mom to sign a permission slip. I held my breath as I backed into my room so mom wouldn't hear me exhale. I felt like a loud sigh of relief I was holding in. I looked up at the sky and I asked Wendell, which one is Jupiter? See that one that looks like a really bright star? Yeah. But see how it doesn't twinkle like the stars? I hadn't noticed that before. What looked like a bright star was a solid light, not flickering like the others. If you see one like that, he continued, it's a planet. They're a lot closer than stars. It's all the atmosphere the stars' light has to travel through that makes them look twinkly. I looked through the telescope at the planet. That's awesome. He pointed out the moon surrounding Jupiter. There's Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. It has a bunch more, but those are the ones we can see. While he took another turn looking through the telescope, I sat back and thought about what to tell him. I touched his shoulder again so he'd look at me. I have some news about the whale Blue 55. I'm going to go meet him after all. I'll try to anyway. Wow, really? That's great. Your parents changed their minds about going? Well, no. They don't know about this. You're going to be by yourself? With grandma. She figured out a way we could get there. If Blue 55 shows up at the sanctuary, I'll be there to see him. Wendell looked away and shook his head like he couldn't believe what I was telling him. I hardly believed it myself. It didn't seem real yet. And then what? He asked. What do you mean? I mean, after you find the whale, what will you do then? I'm not sure, but I think the song will let him know he's not alone, and I want to be there for that. Wendell didn't say anything for a while. He just stared at the sky. Maybe I'd made a huge mistake, and he was going to tell his parents, and then they would tell my parents. Mom would put a stop to the trip before it started. He looked through the telescope again. Then he asked, did you know there used to be another giant planet? Another one? Yeah, in addition to Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, there was a fifth giant gas planet out there. What happened? Jupiter knocked it out of orbit one day. It got too close, and Jupiter sent it hurtling out of the solar system. I looked up at the sky. Really rude, Jupiter. Then I asked Wendell, so where is it now? No one knows. Maybe another star pulled it onto a new orbit and it's in the solar system now. Maybe it even has its own moon circling it. Or it's still out there on its own, flying past everything on the same path Jupiter knocked it onto. He shrugged and looked away. I know this is dumb, but sometimes I wonder about that planet. If I had a way of finding it, I'd go. He hugged me then. I couldn't remember the last time we've hugged. If ever. Maybe when we were little. Maybe when we were little kids. I wanted to tell him that wasn't a dumb idea at all. But to do that, I'd have to let go of him. Wendell stepped back, so I could see him again. Good luck. Let me know when you find your whale. That concludes chapter 23. We're moving on to chapter 24. And for our next chapter, I have a bit of a surprise for you. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone. This is Mrs. Claudia, and this is my awesome nephew. His name is, all right, Jacob. And you know why he does the karate part? It's because he is amazing at karate. It's his favorite thing in the world. So my nephew Jacob is going to help us today with the reading of Song for a Whale. Song for a Whale. And this is how you sign song, whale, water, spout. So it's a song for a whale. That's how you sign that. Okay. So he's going to help us. He's going to help us with the signing part. All right. So let's start off with chapter 24. Each morning that week, I tossed a few things into my backpack for the trip. Then after school, I'd stop by Grandma's to move them to her closet. Her set of suitcases fit on one side, the other like nesting dolls. We sat on the floor near her closet and added items to the small suitcase each day. The medium-sized suitcase had been packed with Grandma's things since the day after she bought the tickets. I'd been reading What to Pack for Your Alaskan Vacation articles so I'd know what to bring. People forget things when they travel to Alaska. They don't pack enough for the cold weather, thinking, how bad can it be in the summer? But it's a lot colder there, especially at night. Traveling on a boat is even worse with all the wind. A good coat wasn't enough. You had to have gloves and a scarf and hat and thick socks. Of course, I didn't have all those things living in Houston. In the corner of a dresser drawer was a pair of gloves I'd hardly worn. Even in winter, I got by with my hands in my pockets. My sock supply was made up of those thin white ones that came 6 pairs to a package from Target. I packed extra pairs so I could double up. My gray sweatshirt had a hood that would work for a hat. Plus, my hair was thick enough to protect me from the cold, even if I went sledding across the Arctic tundra. Before I left home that Saturday morning, I threw the last few things into my backpack. I gave an extra long hug to each of my parents before leaving to meet Grandma. Dad asked if I was okay. And doing great, I answered, which was true. This was the most important thing I'd ever done. I was nervous, but mostly excited. Have fun at the beach, Mom told me. Call if you need anything. All I could do was nod for an answer before walking out to the front door. Maybe they would worry till I got back, but my leaving would be a relief in a way. No more explaining things for Dad. No more of him having to explain things to me. They'd have a kind of vacation too. Tristan was in the driveway with Adam, looking under the hood of Adam's truck. That was not unusual. The truck was always breaking down. Once I leaned against it when Tristan started up. It's shaking like it was running on a lawnmower engine. What's wrong with it? I asked. I know it's a long list, but what are you working on now? It won't start, Tristan answered. Maybe needs a new battery. Smells weird, I told him. Like a barbecue grill, not in a good way. Yeah, Adam dropped a cheeseburger last time he worked on the car. It really stuck in there. So what do you think? I think he shouldn't eat the rest of that cheeseburger if you get it out of there. He grabbed a set of jumper cables from the bed of the truck. As soon as I lifted the plastic covers over the battery terminals for him, I saw the problem. I pointed at the caked on corrosion. Clean those off and maybe it'll start. Adam chuckled and rolled his eyes. When Tristan told him what I'd said, it didn't miss the look of warning that Tristan gave him. That's not a big deal, Adam said. There's something else wrong. On any other day, I'd have grabbed the alternator wire and carried it around in my backpack till Adam admitted I was right. But I'd be far away from there in a few hours, and Mom and Dad didn't need his dumb truck sitting in the driveway all week. Those battery wires don't even know they're connected to anything. Clean it with some baking soda or pour a Coke on it. After Tristan interpreted that, I asked him, "Want to go get a breakfast taco? I had some time before I met Grandma." He shook his head. "I'll stay here and help fix this. We'll go tomorrow, okay?" "I'm telling you, pour a Coke on it and it'll start right up." "Okay, we'll try that. Talk to you later." I almost told him right then that I would be around tomorrow or the next day or a few days after that, but I just got on my bike and rode away. There were plenty of Mexican restaurants around, and I'd been to all of them. The best breakfast tacos were at Carlos Gas 'em Up. One side was a convenience store, and the other was a setup as a cafe. The owner, Carlos, and his whole family worked there. I ordered a potato, egg, and cheese taco, plus a small coffee, something more grown up than my usual chocolate milk. After one bitter sip, I tossed it in the trash can, then used a napkin to scrape the taste off my tongue. How would anyone drink that stuff? I went back to the counter for chocolate milk. As I sat there and ate, I looked around at the people who were reading the news or chatting with one another before work. I was dying to tell someone what I was about to do. I'd never held on to a secret this big, and it was bursting to get out. I went ahead and signed it right there to the whole room. No one would understand anyway, so it was a way of letting the secret out while still keeping it. After finishing the last bite of my taco, I crumpled up the foil wrapper and signed, "I should get going. Don't want to miss my flight on my way to meet a whale." As I left the parking lot, I saw Tristan and Adam driving up the road in Adam's truck. Obviously, they'd fixed it and decided they had time for breakfast tacos after all. I almost went back. Maybe if they saw me, Tristan would have signed something like, "You were right." That was the only reason I thought about turning around, not so I could say goodbye to him or anything. All right, well, that concludes chapter 24. And thank you very much to my nephew, Jacob. We thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy the reading. Bye.